Never before in human history has a greater abundance of information been available at one's fingertips. We turn to the internet as a source of news and factual data, and also as a means of exploring opinions and viewpoints not represented in traditional media. But is one's journey through the World Wide Web as free and open as it might seem? From advertisements that websites generate based on one's web history, or the suggested videos that YouTube generates based on one's viewing habits, and even Facebook's bizarre psychological experiment, which manipulated user news feeds to evoke emotional responses. The manipulation of one's internet activity has evolved into nothing less than a science. It should then come as no surprise that this manipulation can include efforts to restrict one's access to certain ideas and information. Many disturbing examples demonstrate that scientific debate and inquiry on the internet is not always free nor open. For instance, in 2013, the website popularscience.com chose to shut off its comment section, claiming in their official statement, "A politically motivated, decades-long war on expertise has eroded the popular consensus on a wide variety of scientifically validated topics. Everything, from evolution to the origins of climate change, is mistakenly up for grabs again. Scientific certainty is just another thing for two people to debate on television." A similar attitude is conveyed in the long-standing war that self-styled skeptics have waged for control of Wikipedia, particularly entries that deal with scientific controversies. The website skeptic.com declares that Wikipedia is a, quote, "shining opportunity for the skeptical movement." Wikipedia is among the most important public sources for almost any scientific, pseudoscientific, or paranormal topic. A Wikipedia article is almost always the #1 Google hit for that subject. Self-styled skeptics may be pleased by the recently announced Google plan to begin manipulating search engine results to reward websites based on their apparent factual soundness. The stated purpose of the plan is to reduce in Google searches the visibility of sites that promote, quote, "misinformation." Why was this plan constructed, and what effect will it have on the public's use of the Google search engine as a means of inquiry?
What happened is that in late February or early March of 2015, Google published a paper called Knowledge-Based Trust with the subtitle Estimating the Trustworthiness of Web Sources. And this is a paper that was describing a feature that's not yet implemented in Google search. Here I'm going to quote a New Scientist article on basically the article is titled "Google Wants to Rank Websites Based on Facts, Not Links." And they describe it as follows. Google's search engine currently uses the number of incoming links to a web page as a proxy for quality, determining where it appears in search results. So pages that many other sites link to are ranked higher. This system has brought us the search engine as we know it today, but the downside is that websites full of misinformation can rise up the rankings if enough people link to them. A Google research team is adapting that model to measure the trustworthiness of a page, rather than its reputation across the web. Instead of counting incoming links, the system, which is not yet live, counts the number of incorrect facts within a page. A source that has few false facts is considered to be trustworthy, says the team. The score they compute for each page is its knowledge-based trust score. Okay, so I have 3 reasons to be wary of this idea, and with the caveat that there are likely many more. But these are the 3 that I would personally point out. As critical thinkers, our job is not just to try to identify and isolate pseudoscience. There's also dogma and groupthink that's actually in some of our most respected academic organizations. So as a critical thinker, you're tasked with trying to figure out whether or not something is either of those 2 extremes. So the Google paper, if you take a look at it, it actually uses the debate over Obama's birthplace almost as like their sole example. And I would argue that that pretty much trivializes the complexity of what they're actually trying to do. And people in the electric universe community are already probably aware of the long-standing debate, very complicated debate between adherents of the Astrophysical Journal and IEEE's Transactions on Plasma Science over how to model cosmic plasmas. This controversy has been going on for more than half a century now, and it was popularized by a Nobel laureate Hannes Alfvén, who used the occasion of his 1970 Nobel acceptance speech to lay out his case against the astrophysical community. So if Google wants to try to tackle this problem, I think it's a fantastic idea, but are they, when they design their truth engine, are they going to be using real world examples to test their design? That's a question that I pose to them. If they want to get into the scientific controversy business, then they should be studying that debate that I mentioned and how their system reacts to it as a reality check on whether or not their approach is actually going to be a good approach. My second reason to be wary, because not all scientific domains are equal. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman's now famous text, Thinking Fast and Slow, has an excellent chapter titled Expert Intuition, When Can We Trust It? He asks three important questions and provides three critical observations. The questions: how can we evaluate the probable validity of an intuitive judgment? When do judgments reflect true expertise? And when do they display an illusion of validity? Kahneman provides three heuristic answers, which are not guaranteed to be accurate, but decision theory experiments show that they generally are in practice. The research domain, first requirement, the research domain must exhibit sufficient regularity to be predictable, and there must be an opportunity to learn these regularities through prolonged practice. When both of these conditions are satisfied, intuitions are likely to be skilled. However, some domains are worse than irregular, sometimes referred to as wicked environments. Professionals in these domains are likely to learn the wrong lessons from experience. And then the third heuristic that he provides is whether professionals have a chance to develop intuitive expertise depends essentially on the quality and speed of feedback, as well as on that sufficient opportunity to practice. So notice that all three are comments about the nature of the data itself. And by these standards, the endeavors of climate science, cosmology, and astrophysics should all be viewed with some level of skepticism by information consumers. The data, is not consistent, hence dark matter and the climate model's failure to make accurate predictions right now. There is this never-ending risk of learning the wrong lessons due to the fact that people will even argue over what is being observed in some of these domains. And there's this very slow process of feedback in all three endeavors. So my question for Google is, how will Google treat facts associated with these types of domains? That's, to me, an enormously important question. The third reason to be concerned is, where is Google taking us? That's the question I would ask. Their approach seems to defy a trending principle known as human-centered automation. And I would point you to an article in the Wall Street Journal titled Automation Makes Us Dumb by Nicholas Carr from November 21st, 2014. Kind of an alarming title, but let me read this. It's really fascinating. He says, quote, "In human-centered automation, the talents of people take precedence. Systems are designed to keep the human operator in what engineers call the decision loop, the continuing process of action, feedback, and judgment making. That keeps workers attentive and engaged and promotes the kind of challenging practice that strengthens skills. In this model, software plays an essential but secondary role. It takes over routine functions that a human operator has already mastered, issues alerts when unexpected situations arise, and provides fresh information that expands the operator's perspective and counters the biases that often distort human thinking. The technology becomes the expert's partner, not the expert's replacement." And he goes on to say, "Pushing automation to a more humane direction doesn't require any technical breakthroughs. It requires a shift in priorities and a renewed focus on human strengths and weaknesses." Skipping ahead a little bit, he concludes towards the end of his article, "When it comes to the computerization of knowledge work," writes John Lee of the University of Iowa, "a less automated approach which places the automation in the role of critiquing the operator has met with much more success than the typical practice of supplanting human judgment with machine calculations. The best decision support systems provide professionals with alternative interpretations hypotheses, or choices. So I would say that as Google designs this system, they have an amazing opportunity to implicitly acknowledge the existence of groupthink and dogma within our academic institutions, within this system that they're designing. If their philosophical approach, however, is to basically treat scientific theory as fact and then encourage the public to restrict their own access to information based upon the prevailing consensus, then what impact will this have upon innovation more broadly? And the fact of the matter is that institutions do not generally reform themselves from the inside. They typically respond to public pressure for reform. So we have to be extremely cautious with any decision to filter out dissension based upon an expert opinion. History of Science's most important lesson is that the experts have been wrong time and time again.